The following video is in response to two videos, and when I say in response, I don't mean I'm actually going to respond to what they said, but rather respond to the general complaint that I hear often. And this complaint namely is, it's rude to criticize other beliefs, or it's rude to attack people for their beliefs, or it's rude to attack their beliefs. That kind of claim, the claim that basically to criticize the beliefs themselves, to criticize the person for holding the beliefs, or to criticize the person's judgment or whatever for holding those beliefs. Okay, I first want to point out that the people who usually say this, and I have links in the details of two people who are speaking this kind of way. I want to point out that these people probably are going to be inconsistent in what they're saying. Nobody has a problem criticizing the beliefs of racists. Nobody has a problem of attacking the character or judgment of a racist. All of us are very comfortable, and turn on the news, people are very comfortable. No one blinks when someone judges someone for being a racist, saying, you know, you're a bad person for holding those beliefs. Your judgment is questionable because you hold those beliefs, or those beliefs are false. Those beliefs are immoral. Okay, all of us think that's fine. So no one actually is truly consistent if they try to maintain the position that it's rude or improper or whatever for criticizing the people's beliefs. That's the first point. That no one's actually consistent when they say this. Okay. My second point, in some respect, I think it's actually a good thing if people criticize the beliefs of others. And here's why. Most of us want to hold beliefs that are true. I want to know if I'm wrong about something. I want to know if whatever I believe is true or not. And if I had a choice between holding something that's true and believing something that's false, I'd pick the one that's true. I think most of us agree about that. I mean, if you never are exposed to any kind of critical evaluation or critical analysis of what you think is true, it's pretty much impossible to discover that what you think is false if you've never been exposed to that. I mean, imagine a world where you're born on an island that has a population of 100 people or whatever, and everyone believes the exact same thing, or very similar things, you know. They may disagree about details, but they all believe the same thing. How on earth would you, how could you possibly discover that what these people are saying is false if you're never really exposed to people who disagree, you know? Of course, I mean, if what they're saying is about the island or about rocks or something, you can simply investigate it and discover it's false. But you understand the idea that it's difficult to actually come to the realization that whatever belief you have is untrue if you're never exposed to any kind of group who doesn't agree, right? I mean, this is one of the good things about science and philosophy. I mean, this is one of the strengths. This is one of the virtues that, you know, it's basically a big pool of disagreement. People who, I mean, that's how things progress. I mean, if the only way that we know certain theories are untrue, or certain, you know, scientific ideas are untrue, is because there was at one point where someone didn't believe it, and they went out of their way to criticize it and to demonstrate it to be untrue, or less likely to be true. To some extent, this is how progress is made in science, you know. I mean, besides, if your beliefs are true, what difference does it make if they're criticized? If they're criticized and they're true, certainly the easier it should be to defend them, right? I mean, if someone came out to me and demanded that I explain to him why 2 + 2 is 4, I would enjoy that. I would find no difficulty in doing so. I would just take, you know, 2 fingers on both hands and say, okay, you ready? And then connect them. Say, look, what number is it? Oh, wow. You know, I mean, the more confident we are in our beliefs being true, the less likely we are to fear criticism. I mean, what's the point of fearing criticism if you're actually confident in what you believe, you know? I mean, the people who actually say this are almost always religious people, or liberal-minded people, this kind of hippie, we're all correct in our own way stuff. And, I mean, it's just not helpful, I mean, of course, the religious people are going to say these kind of things because obviously they're not confident in their beliefs. I mean, to some extent, I think deep down, they don't even believe them, I mean, and not only that, but again, back to people being inconsistent. I recently was at a LAN party. For those who aren't, LAN party is basically where a bunch of guys get their computers into a room and play video games and stuff. Well, my friend Eric was arguing that having the fans blow out or something, it was something like that, having the fans blow out is better for the circulation. And there was my friend Mike who disagreed with him. And they started to argue. And they started to say, you're wrong for this reason, this reason. And the guy goes, no, bullshit, you're wrong. Da-da-da-da-da. They started saying, you're dumbass, you're an idiot, and they're just arguing. And it was all, no one blinked. We all were laughing at it. It was really fun, good, healthy debate, a little bit of a, under-the-belt jab here and there. But it was fine. But at those same kind of events, people, usually when it's really late, it's like 4 in the morning, people will say, hey, come on, Dave, and then we start talking about religion and science and stuff like that. And then I often get the complaint, David, it's really not a good thing that you should really be criticizing my religious beliefs. They're mine. I think that my beliefs are good and all of this. And so these are the same people who moments ago were viciously debating something and criticizing and evaluating the evidence and even calling each other names and stuff like that. So what's the difference? What's the difference? I mean, both beliefs are about what's true, about what the world is, I mean, either there's a God or there's not. Either, we have free will or we don't. Either the fan blowing out is good for the circulation or it's not. I mean, the only difference is the degree of certainty by the people who believe them. And, I want to show a clip because, it really shows how absurd this position is, the position that being critical of other people's beliefs or being critical of those people for holding those beliefs is a bad thing or a rude thing or something not to do,
What you are doing is incredibly disreputable. What you are doing is utterly appalling. I don't mind if you clone a human being, actually, because I think you would get the full force of the law when inevitably you produce an abnormal child and the parents or the child will sue you through the court, and God help you when that happens and you deserve the full force of the law, whether it be in the United States or in Italy.
Oh my goodness! Did you see what he did? He was criticizing the position of cloning. Oh my gosh. That was so rude. That was so rude. People should have the right to believe that, cloning is a thing to do. And they shouldn't have to hear from this grumpy old Grinch who's saying that they're wrong. Oh. I mean, do you see how weird that looks? Do you see how strange it looks for me to say that right after that clip? I mean, all of us look at this, and, the audience clapped after that because, most scientific-minded people, I would like to think I'd one of them, but I've read stuff by them, and even some of them even tell stories about how they've become utterly grateful when they've been refuted, because that means they're closer to holding. They're closer to what's true, In some of Dawkins' work, he talks about a story where one of his professors invited a guest who completely refuted his theory about biology or whatever particular subject that was being talked about, and the guy shook his hand with teary eyes and said, "Thank you, I had been wrong all these years. Thank you for revealing, that my position was wrong." And everyone clapped their hands red. I mean. Why isn't it like that when we discuss religion or discuss free will or discuss philosophy or discuss ethics or whatever, or politics, Politics and religion are the biggest ones that people don't like to talk about. Most people who even know anything about philosophy like to debate by that virtue alone. I mean, if they like philosophy, they obviously, you know. But and people talk about politics and religion. I mean, what's the difference? I mean, shouldn't we, just what the hell, It should be a good thing that we debate these things. It should be a good, healthy, discussion. And so what? In this, in one of these, if you go to one of these links, there's a girl who I would assume is Muslim, and she talks about how someone criticizing her for putting a veil over her face, and about her religion being false. Well, what's wrong with that? I mean, I think it is a bad thing that you feel as though you have to cover yourself up. I mean, what a disgusting, view of the world. The idea that you have this God who disapproves of you wearing certain clothes. I mean, the idea that you have this religion that may or may not tell you that your status of a woman is something different or less than a man. I mean, what a horrible and utterly ugly thing to think, Now, the fact that it's ugly doesn't mean that it's false. I want to make that clear. But yeah, I think that I don't like that you feel you have to cover your face. I think that you should be free. I like freedom. I think people should be free to think for themselves, to debate ideas, and to show their face, I mean, am I a bigot for that? I mean, am I a bigot? I mean, not only that, but look at the word bigot. What's actually wrong with being a bigot? If you look at the word bigot, a bigot is someone who is intolerant of other belief systems or other positions. Aren't all of us bigots in respect to racists? Are we all bigots to bigots, I mean, I don't tolerate certain beliefs. I don't tolerate the belief that it's good to blow up buildings because God said so. I think those beliefs are false, And I don't tolerate the belief that the government should prevent me from doing things that are not averse to anybody else, I don't like the idea that the government says, by the way, Dave, it's a crime for you not to wear a seatbelt, I mean, what? So yeah, I mean, people should welcome it. People should be more than happy to defend their position. I mean, again, if your position's true, why on earth wouldn't you want to defend it, I mean, and second, if you think that what you believe is true, if you think that the position you have corresponds to reality, what could be more compassionate, more moral, than trying to get other people to believe it? I mean, if you have this pot of gold called truth, if you think that you have the answer to a certain question, what could be more compassionate than saying, hey, this position is correct, and here's why? I mean, if I give you a gift, would you say, oh, don't push your gift on me. I don't want your gift. I have my own gift over here. I mean, if your gift's better than theirs, then wouldn't it be, I mean, just the whole position is just really difficult to see how anyone could really hold this position, And I think that's how I'll end this.